Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy, and this is the Ask Videomail for the week of September 15th, 2014. Welcome to the site. To you new members, welcome, really, sincerely welcome. And welcome back to you old members. The Ask Videomail, don't forget, is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one. But I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send your questions to webmaster@KennyRoy.com. I go through all the questions I receive. First, I give you 2 free days on the site, and then I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And believe me, if there was, I have asked it already. And it's the best way to get the most out of the site. And really, come on, get the most out of the site. Do it. Get the most. Why would you not? I still think that KennyRoy.com is pretty much the only place on the internet that you can get a video custom tailored to your question in character animation and performance. I don't think that there is anything else like it still. All right, and we are going on our 4th year. No, sorry, we've already had this is already our 4th year. So it will be 4 years in November. Yes, it'll be 4 years in November. I started in November 2010. So it'll be 4 years, all right? So I've been doing this for long enough that I know that it's a resource that you guys want, but take advantage of it, okay? Send those questions in. Remember, you get 2 free days, no matter if I answer the question or not. So and it applies to people who are on the free trial. So if you're on the 30-day free trial right now, you turn in a question, boom, that just became a 32-day free trial. You turn in 2 questions, boom, that just became a 34-day free trial. You turn in 38 questions, that just became a 106-day free trial. I'm going to edit that down so it doesn't look like it took that long, okay? Turn those questions in. I really appreciate it. And it's the best way to take the most advantage. Come on, suck up all these resources. Make it your own, okay? Do you guys know what Animalia.eu is yet? Have you checked out... I'm going to the site. I don't care if you guys wanted to or not. We're going to check it out. Check it out, Animalia.eu. This is the course that I am training at, or giving a workshop at right now. Look at that. They're in the news in the Czech Republic. Basically, if you're a European animator, you should be interested. You should be getting into this. Look at these teachers here. Mike Belzer from Valve, Neil Helm from Pixar, Jason Schleifer, animation director from DreamWorks. Hello. How to Train Your Dragon? Anyone? Was he on Train Your Dragon? I don't even know. I definitely know he was on Megamind. Serious animation power. Keith Lango. You guys all know Keith. Come on, he is like a legend in our business here. He's doing the short film. I'm doing the creature animation. I'm in very good company here. Very interesting courses being offered, and come on, this is serious. Royce Wesley from Pixar. I know Anthony Wong from Pixar has been there giving a course. Check it out, Animalia.eu, and European animators especially need to look into this. Okay? Do it. Make it happen. Make it happen. It's a serious thing. It's pretty much the best experience I've had in animation like ever. The people, the town is amazing. It's just so fantastic fun. Okay, let's get to the question this week. I think you'll like it. Check it out. Actually, you know what? I am filled with nothing but tips. Honestly, this is exactly where animating with tempo comes in. Exactly. I do recommend you do the Animating Good Contact lecture. It's in the store. Check that one out. It's a 90-minute lecture just on contact. It's very intense, okay? But it's an overlooked concept, and I knew I had to cover it to cover all my bases. To be the in-depth resource here in animation, I knew I had to cover it. So there we go. But this is where tempo comes in, animating with tempo so well. Okay, why is that? Is because if you are creating something that is a very specific physical interaction, you need to have as fast as possible that an approximation, a close approximation of that physical interaction as you can. You need to have it basically in front of you as fast as you can, and tempo is the way you do that. Helper objects are the way you do that, and with good contact is the way you do that. Typically, when you're animating characters, you get a good sense of what their performance is supposed to be or what they're supposed to do, but there's a whole lot of kind of reaction that happens, and it's sort of hard to do the back and forth as well. I have experience with this because of my creature animation experience, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Actually, I'll start off with that. So there's a shot on King Kong that was pretty much kicking my butt pretty hard. And it's a shot where Kong is in the vines with the T-Rex, and the T-Rex is swinging back and forth and is about to bite onto Anne. And right when the T-Rex is about to eat her, Kong leaps up and grabs onto his tail and yanks it down. And it was difficult for me to get this shot right. In fact, I was on it for much longer than I should have been. At a certain point, I brought it and showed it to my supervisor on that sequence, who was Dave Clayton. And he's incredible and really, really, really smart and a great animator. And he showed me a couple things. And one of the takeaways I had from that experience is that you need to know really what the physical interaction is going to be, what are going to be the major forces and how they're going to react with each other. So I ended up with, the way I had to start looking at it was this. So we had these vines, and I had my T-Rex, and he has this big thigh, right? And then his tail comes out, and his back legs were kind of hanging like this, okay? And then his torso was forward like this, and his little arms, and then his head was kind of forward like this, okay? All right, so that's kind of how he looked like. So and he's hanging from these vines that are all like wrapped around him, all right. But the vines aren't holding up all of them. So like the end of his tail was there, and his legs were out, and whatnot. But that's the basic general gist of that. Oops, not rotate, scale. This is Mischief, by the way. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this program, but it's like vector and bitmap. So you have these, nice strokes. You can do like these transparent strokes, and even like sort of like airbrush and pencil, and you can zoom in on it infinitely, and then do more stuff and more, even at this scale, because it's vector. It's very cool. Anyway. So that was my sort of setup here, and then Kong jumps out, and Kong latches onto his tail. So what I had to think to myself was like, what is the actual physical setup of this moment? What do I have to do get across right here? So I broke this up, and I sort of translated this into what I felt this really should represent. So these were actually like ropes, okay? All right, so I kept the vines, and I sort of said to myself, okay, well that sort of makes a lot of sense. But where the tail and it connects to the hips and the legs is basically like a wheel. So I'm like, okay, it's a wheel with spokes, okay? It's a wheel. And what is the tail? Well, the tail is basically a chain. The tail's not really going to stretch, okay? So the tail is a chain. So I drew that. The tail is like a chain, like this. All right? And then when Kong grabs onto that, he has, his arms. So we had the gorilla, and he's reaching up, and his arm comes like this. This arm kind of comes from underneath, and he was very stretched out in my shot. One leg was kind of up like this off the rocks, and the other one was kind of still pushing off the rocks. And a gorilla is not really meant to stretch out this far, but at any rate, it looks something like that. But I said to myself, what are those arms? Those arms are basically two like metal bars with a hinge in the middle. And then the rest of his body, in terms of this physical setup, is like, a 10,000 pound weight. Okay. So here's the other bar with the what do you call that? The hinge right there. So what I realized had to happen was, as this wheel gets pulled on, it's going to rotate, right? And as the chain gets pulled on, it's going to straighten. And as the arms get pulled on, they're going to straighten as well. But it's in different directions, right? So the wheel is going to rotate downwards, right? Making that connection point where the chain is, where the tail is, kind of down here. So a sort of a little bit of an intermediate frame would be like this. And the arms are stronger than the tail is in terms of the tail resisting straightening out. So the arms are probably going to stay a little bit bent like this, connected to that weight. Okay? And then finally, so it goes from this to this, and from this, finally, that wheel really is the thing that can resist the least, right? The rotation, because the only thing that's resisting the rotation is these ropes, right? And when you have all of this weight swinging this way, that wheel is just going to go with it, right? There's nothing really stopping that rotation, right? So it goes from this to basically this, where the wheel is totally rotated. The tail is pretty much totally straight. Oops. I looked over at my other monitor in the middle of drawing. I don't know what I expected to happen. And the arms probably are going to keep a little bit of the arms. The arm straightening is the only thing that muscle is really going into preventing from happening. Okay, so this is how it starts, goes to this, and then basically ends like this. And when I drew this and I realized that it was this simple of a relationship, it made it a lot easier to animate. All right, and so I didn't know this workflow before I started this shot, but it would have been really easy to do with tempo. Okay, because essentially we're talking about just shapes moving, we're talking about just a weight relationship and all those kinds of things. But I really want to go over just one kind of concept, and maybe specifically related to the question, which was you have two lions fighting. Well, let's say one lion like runs into another one. You need to base that second lion's reaction to that entirely off of the first lion's attack. You can't really pose them at the same time. It never works. So basically the workflow should be have him do his attack, and I'm going to kind of make him, attack. Let's do 2 frames of overshoot. All right. So in general, this represents an attack. And then only when you have basically really the entire feeling of that weight or whatever it is, only then can you really key the reaction to that. And in terms of animating good contact, I didn't really plan this, but let's see where it is. All right, cool. So in between these 2 frames, that's even better, right? So, and the reason why we normally get such sort of like dull and almost swimmy, almost they're not even like touching each other action, is because you're keying the moments of contact, or you're keying these big moments of interaction. And you're not supposed to key those big moments. A reaction needs to be exactly that. It needs to be entirely reactionary. Okay? So going back to the work here, looking at this, if you had thumbnailed a pose where one line is like slashing another across the face, and then when you're keying it, you have like the pose like there with the pop in the air, and then a key with the paw like on the lion's face, it always will feel like a little like sort of like little light little flap across the face. It never will feel strong. So in this example, I'm glad that the contact happens between frames, because I can key this on this frame, and then on this frame I can have as big a reaction as I want. Kind of want this a little hard because of where the pivot point is on here. All right, so just imagine if this was like one line attacking, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. One point of contact, a paw on a face, or like a shoulder into another one, or biting, even clamping it down on the neck. Getting that reaction to be just a reaction to the animation that you have, which means you have to get that animation in there and feeling pretty good, spacing and timing wise, before you can animate it. But at any rate, just looking at this as an initial gut reaction of how hard this impact is, it feels pretty good. It really actually feels like the one cube is hitting the other. And it's because I animated this one only after I animated the first one as a reaction. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, really like to see this shot if you have it. I hope I answered it in enough time, your question in enough time that you can apply it to some of the stuff you're doing on this shot. But I mean, obviously this applies to everybody. Think about these concepts, plan out your animation, and look at where the dynamics are happening. You'll feel a lot better. And then two-character interaction is based really on action and reaction. All right? Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. I'm Kenny Roy. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.